Hey, what's going on, Ramley? Welcome to the Ram Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are your home for Los Angeles Rams news. Joined as always by Mr. Skinny himself, Skinny T. We are a few days removed from a Rams victory, I believe 31-21 over the Dallas Cowboys. It's preseason, but hey, a win's a win. Football is back. Live football is back. So we're going to talk briefly about the game. I know we're a few days past there, but at least talk about some standouts. And then I'm sure everyone's sick of it, but we got to talk about it. Matthew Stafford still not back at practice, even though it was pretty evident on Saturday after the game that he would be back on Monday. Now they have had Monday's practice, no Stafford. Tuesday's practice, no Stafford. Skinny T will be at Thursday's joint practice with the Saints. I'm going to guess no Stafford, but we'll get all into that in a moment. First and foremost, Skinny T looking good with the fresh, I don't know if it's a haircut, but looking good as always. How you doing?
Not new hair. I shaved.
Attaboy.
Hair's looking good today. I mean, I gotta give praise where praise is due. The due is due.
Yeah, looks great. I mean, compared to mine. So well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
I saw this. My wife actually loves to just poke fun at me. She sent me this like study that soda and energy drinks have been proven to cause hair loss. Like I've drinking so much Mountain Dew in my life. I'm like, it would have been good to know. Like my mom, here's a funny story, and then we'll get into it. My mom, when she was pregnant, so I'm the oldest, so I was her first child. So when she was pregnant with me, obviously, pregnant women aren't supposed to drink caffeine. So, sodas with caffeine, not supposed to drink. She thought because Mountain Dew was more clear that it was caffeine free. So she drank a ton of Mountain Dew the entire time she was pregnant with me. And Mountain Dew has like the most caffeine of all of them. So I came out just ripping and roaring, full of Mountain Dew antioxidants, red dye number 5, with all of those things, and then have just grown up living on Mountain Dew, and now I have no hair.
Now it all makes sense. To match that and just kind of one up you. I signed up for one of those spit in the tube DNA things that have now all gone bankrupt.
Yep.
And I had to retrieve my data. But they have all these studies that they do, and so like answer survey questions. One of them, which was, did your mom smoke while she was pregnant with you? And I was like, no, of course not. And then I was like, wait a second. So I call up my mom. I was like, did you happen to smoke while you were pregnant with me? She's like, oh yeah. So 1983, I guess that memo hadn't made its way to northern Minnesota, but I probably could have been a genius professional athlete, at least a little bit taller if that had been corrected.
Yep. Just blame your mom. It's always their fault for all of our deficiencies. Like not only did my mom pump me with Mountain Dew, but also my dad is 6'4" and my mom's 5 foot, and I got all my mom's genes. So got nothing from my dad's Norwegian side. I got all the short Italian genes from my mom. So
there you go.
What can you do? Anyway, so Rams, we'll talk briefly about the game again. Everyone's kind of moved past it, but 31-21, Steady B played the whole game, 16-24, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have the one pick, wasn't a super egregious pick, never loved to see it, but was more just trying to make a play, and I thought it was a bang football play. Jarquez Hunter got a lot of run, 11-for-41. Blake Corum, I think, played longer than maybe most thought he would, 9 for 32. Cody Schrader had a nice game, 11.8 yard average. When you look at the receivers, as expected, none of the top 4 played. You got Xavier Smith, Drake Stoops, Kanata Mumfield played as a rookie, 2 for 24. He went. So, as we expected, and we'll start with offense, obviously, since that's who I just listed. As we expected, kind of who would play and who wouldn't. Any standouts, I guess, for you, Skinny, or any insight into kind of what you saw from the offense?
Well, it's tough from the offensive perspective because having seen what I saw from the Dallas Cowboys at the joint practice, I was not impressed at all with their defense. And so when you look at Cody Schrader just tearing it up against this team, that's pretty indicative of the competition they were facing. Obviously, Dallas Cowboys weren't playing Mark Parsons or a lot of their starters either. So I think the Rams were able to just capitalize on a pretty bad unit for the Dallas Cowboys. So do I think Stetson Bennett looks better? Yes, but he was only pressured 5 times. Of quarterbacks that played 20 or more dropbacks with it, I think there were 15th. He had the 15th fewest pressures, only 5. So maybe the backup offensive line is way better than we thought.
Yeah.
Willie Lampkin getting all sorts of love for
All sorts of love.
3 or 4 pancake blocks, which you love to see. 5'11" to 300 pounds. That's fantastic. But I think they just got kind of a minor league squad and beat the crap out of them.
Yeah,
I think Stetson Bennett looks better. I'll say that. I'm not sold yet.
Just don't want to praise him. Just don't want to praise him, huh? Not ready yet. We've been hurt before.
Yeah, I'll give it another game, and if he's facing off against the Chargers, who is a much better defense,
yes,
I think that'll be a better test. So that'll be interesting. But that's kind of what I'm walking away with.
Yeah, I think I agree for the most part. I think the offense looked, I thought, methodical. That the execution was clean for the most part. As you alluded to, the offensive line, backup offensive line. I mean, Willie Lampkin, he's getting the full praise circuit from everyone from Pat McAfee to Mina Kimes to everyone. Everyone's praising Willie Lampkin. So, and he was a guy we talked about when they signed him as a free agent, as a guy that could potentially make an impact, make this roster, and be kind of a rotational piece. He's not even at his size. Everywhere he's gone, he's been seen as too small, and he started and won jobs. And so you get to a point when you can look past the guy's size and say, this guy just continually wins battles and continually wins jobs. And he proved that in this game, granted against lesser competition, but you still beat your competition in front of you. That's all you can do. So I thought that was great to see. I thought, for the receivers they put out there, the passing game was not anemic. I mean, like we said, obviously no Adams or Nacua, but also no Atwell, no Whittington. So when you're throwing to the likes that Steady B was, I did like to see what he was, the ball placement, how involved the backs were. So I think overall offensively for the kind of vanilla game plan, obviously Mike LaFleur, I believe, called the game. So it's good to see him kind of throwing his hat in the ring there. Obviously he's not going to have the full disposal of the playbook in a preseason game, but yeah, I was, pleased with what I saw. You take these preseason games with a huge grain of salt, especially the Rams, because just no starters play. And so if you lose, you don't want to get too low because it's like, okay, these are second and third stringers, sometimes fourth stringers. And if they win, you don't want to get too high. It's just kind of like, yeah, I think they went out and took care of business, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think 100%. That's all it is.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Mike LaFleur because I think he's got a pretty good run of calling a few good games for this team.
Yeah.
So I liked what I saw from him as well. Yeah, and I think that defensively looked solid as well. Hardly anything to complain about from that perspective as well. So good showing.
Yeah. If only Daniel Popper covered the Rams. He's the Chargers beat writer for The Athletic, and I don't want to say became famous for, but during Brandon Staley's last year, so 2 years ago, as you know, Skinny, he kind of became more well-known, I should say, for continually asking Staley if he was going to give up play calling duties. It seemed like every week he asked him. Staley kind of went off on him a couple times. And so if he was on the Rams, now he could be asking McVay, like, hey, LaFleur's had a few good games. You're going to give up play calling duties? Is this LaFleur's job now?
I think he would get laughed out of that room.
he would get the same response that he got from Brandon Staley, I think. Nope.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah. But we'll see if this that was probably really loud. Sorry if whoever heard me kind of yell that. But this it's always good to see these assistants get these, and the Rams as an organization do a really good job propping up their assistants. So we'll see how much longer Mike LaFleur remains the Rams OC before he gets an opportunity to be a true play calling OC elsewhere. Anything from the defense, Skinny? I'll start a little bit. Like, I think the secondary depth actually looked pretty good. Again, you're going up against sub-tier competition. So, we know that. We're not going to emphasize that continually anymore. But I think overall the depth looked really good when you think of guys like Cam Lampkin, who got an interception. When you think of guys like, Tanner Engel, a lot of these different players, I think, played pretty well for how deep they are kind of on the depth chart. And I think while this secondary to me has a lot of questions from the starters in terms of like how elite they are, like they might be a bottom unit, the talent level, or I should say the skill set from the starters to the bottom of the depth chart is rather close in my opinion, which I don't know if that's a good thing, but it does show they're at least deep at the position, and it's going to be a big competition of who makes this roster. Like that might be the toughest group to make cuts, and not because they're the clear-cut starters or like Pro Bowlers, just because I think the competition is so close. And again, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I do think that speaks to these younger guys, how well they're playing. Again, Charles Woods, I thought had a good game. Josh Wallace had a good game. So again, what do you think? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Does that speak more negatively on the starters than it does the backups? Or is this just a positive of how deep the group is?
I mean, I think it's good that they are, adding these undrafted free agents and getting them to places where they're playable in even games like this. And Sean McVay actually kind of spoke to the decision-making process that they're going to go through for guys like Cam Lampkin, Sean Dolak, things like that. They're guys that have to be able to produce in special teams because you're not running Akella Witherspoon and Darius Williams out there for special teams. You don't want to live in that world. So I think they've developed these guys, and that's fantastic. Also got to shout out Josiah Stewart picking up a sack.
Yeah, guy I said to watch for. Remember, that was my guy.
Yeah, well, I shouted out Cam Lampkin as well.
You did?
What I
That's right.
and he picked up an interception.
There you go.
So we know what we're talking about sometimes.
2 for 2. The most influential Rams podcast.
We may not have the best Trey Lance takes. They're the most popular Trey Lance takes in the world, but
all right, you brought it up, so I at least gotta defend myself. Like I got like shredded for this Trey Lance take.
I think I avoided pretty much any criticism.
As you should. But just to defend myself for anyone that had heard that and disagree with it, like I want to be clear. Like I was in no way am I saying, and this was on the last episode, if for those of you who don't know, I basically said I don't understand why the Rams did not pursue Trey Lance in free agency to bring him into the room and compete. I said a lot more than that, but a lot of people took that as like compete for the starting job with Matthew Stafford. Obviously, we know about Stafford's injury, which we're going to talk about next, but I think people took that as like he could beat out Jimmy G, be the starter. Like I was merely saying, you sign Dresser Wynn to be a QB4 for $1 million. The Chargers signed Trey Lance for $2 million. Like, why would you not pay the extra $1 million for a former 3rd overall pick who is 25 years old to be your QB4 and see if he can beat out Stetson Bennett for next year to be the backup? Because we'll see if they re-sign Jimmy G next year. But so anyway, we don't want to yell into it, but I was not saying Trey Lance is your QB1 this year and look at what he's done in preseason. I was saying, why not take a flyer on a guy that's cost effective, that's only 25 years old? We've seen what Geno Smith became when he's in the right system. We saw what Sam Darnold was in the right system. We saw Baker Mayfield, who was cast away, and then all of a sudden now is a $40 million quarterback with the Buccaneers. Like, why not take a flyer to be your QB4 right now and potentially compete to beat out Stetson Bennett next year? That's all I was trying to say.
And I'll throw in there that Trey Lance has looked pretty good leading those Chargers. He's played 43 snaps or 43 dropbacks anyway. Last week and probably about the same in the week before when in the Hall of Fame game. So he's looked much improved. So
look, and we won't belabor this, but I think it's you can correct me if you've heard otherwise, but it seemed like in San Francisco that John Lynch, the GM, wanted Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan did not. Not saying they didn't make it work, but there always seemed like a little riff in the organization. And it seemed like Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. Remember those rumors come out when they traded up, like, are they trading up for Mac Jones? Really? They end up taking Trey Lance, but guess who's on the team now? Mac Jones. So whatever you want to make of that, it just seemed like now he had injuries back-to-back years. You can't put this all blame on that organization, but it just seemed like there was a riff on how they really wanted to utilize him. So some guys just need a new situation. And we've seen it so often. So anyway, again, I was never saying this guy should beat out Matthew Stafford. I'm just saying for next year, you got no plan. Why not take a flyer for $2 million and see what happens? If he's terrible, no harm, no foul. He's a free agent next year.
Yeah. And we've been asking them to roll the dice, and that's what this would have been. It certainly wouldn't have been a for sure thing. I'm still skeptical if he could be a starting quarterback, if he could live up to that 3rd round or 3rd overall pick status. I mean, that's still up in the air, but
yeah, totally.
Anyway,
well, let's stick with quarterback unless you have anything else with the game.
No, we can move on.
Okay. So Stafford, I'm sure everyone knows by now, on Saturday threw, I don't know, they said like 60 passes or something?
Over 60 passes.
So did a workout Saturday pregame, threw 60 passes, Said he felt great, could make every throw. There was no reason or doubt or any concern about any of his health. He'll be back at practice next week. I can't remember the exact phrasing he used, but essentially alluding to like, yes, he will be at Monday's practice. Monday comes, Stafford's in street clothes. Now there's some therapy van on their practice field that does like red laser therapy, supposedly for all players, but we all know it's primarily for QB1. Tuesday rolls, still no Stafford practicing. Now we're heading into the Thursday joint practice. I can't see them throwing him into his first training camp practice being a joint practice, so I'm guessing we will not see Stafford again. I mean, are we getting to the point, Skinny, where this is a concern? I mean, me and you have been more on the this is a concern. I think everyone's kind of lambasted us for that, but we've been more on the like, where there's smoke, there's fire. We know how the history goes with these injuries, not just in the back for older players, but with the Rams specifically and Sean McVay. Something never felt right, and it just continues to drag on. Your thoughts?
Yeah. There's a finicky nature to back injuries, especially to things involving that soft material that exists between the spinal cord, the discs. Once those get involved, the nerve stuff, it's not unconcerning. This is the most important player on this team. He is the Super Bowl window. Yep. Without him, I mean, I'm on the record about Jimmy G. I'll continue to voice that kind of concern for Jimmy G as well, not being able to drive the ball down the field, making soul-crushing interceptions. The things that have plagued him all his year. He's not a particularly durable quarterback either.
Nope.
So, we're 26 days out, I think, as of my last count. Can a lot change? Can a lot shift? Is it going to get a lot better? Does throwing over 60 passes, is that kind of where we are with this guy? Like that's like he's going to throw 30 passes a game, and he needs to be able to be well enough to do that. And now we just have no timeline. Now we're back to no timeline.
Yeah.
McVay didn't update it. He didn't the beat reporters that were asking the questions didn't ask if he were if there was a chance he was going to play for the Saints practice, the joint practice. On my media calendar, it says Wednesday is a walkthrough. So I'm sure he'll walk through with the team, but there's no sign right now that, I mean, the only thing we can confidently say is that the Rams are not concerned, because that's the company line that they've been saying going back weeks now.
Yep. This is what's seems, again, all we can surmise from is what they're saying and then what we're witnessing. And it seems like I still believe Stafford will play week 1. I just think he's that tough. I don't think this is something where he's like immobile. The question is, what's his recovery timeline like? Like if he's throwing passes against air in or whatever he was in pad, I don't know what the exact workout was, and then has to be held out of practice for 3, 4, 5 days. Like, is this a season-long thing where, hey, he plays the game and then he's doing nothing but walkthroughs on Thursday and then suits back up for the game? He's been around the league long enough where that can happen sometimes. I don't know if that's a sustainable model to win a Super Bowl throughout an 18 or a 17 game season, 18 weeks and plus 3 or 4 playoff games. That's, I think, the concern. I don't think it's if he's going to be there week 1. It's what's the recovery timeline look like? And Skinny, when this Rams team has not started the season well the last 2 years. Now, granted, they've been an unbelievable second half team and obviously made the playoffs both those seasons. But when you look at their schedule, the opening against the Texans, that's a playoff team. That's going to be a tough game. Yes, it's at home. That's great. Next week at the Titans. The Titans are in a rebuild, but hey, it's still a road game, 10 a.m. start. You got to travel across the country. What's Stafford's recovery after that Texans game and then got to travel across the country? Oh, then guess what? The very next week, you're going up to Philadelphia to play the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Then you got the Colts at home, the Niners at home on a Thursday short week, and then you go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. That is not an easy start to the season for a quarterback that seemingly is hobbled by somewhat of a back injury, whether it's non-concerning or not. I mean, what's the recovery timeline? I think would be my next question. Or if you're able, Skinny, you'll be at Rams joint practice. Like, I don't want to ruffle feathers with Coach McVay, but like my question for him, if I had got the opportunity to be like, hey, by all occasions, you guys are very confident Stafford will be ready. However, what is your thought process and what the recovery timeline is after each game? If he's out 4 days after throwing against air, how about if he's taken 10 hits during a game? That would be my concern.
Yeah, and I'll throw in there also that these joint practices are very important to the team and very important to Sean McVay and the offense specifically, because it's the only time they'll ever see their starters performing in the preseason. It's the only time. So, a couple of new receivers on the team, a couple of new offensive wrinkles are going to be added to it. Stafford's a vet. He's been around a long time, so I'm not concerned necessarily about that. But there is a chemistry element, and, Stafford is a chemistry kind of quarterback. He picks his guys and he targets them pretty repeatedly. Think about Cooper Kupp in 2021. Think about Puka Nacua when Cooper Kupp wasn't in.
Yep.
Not ideal. This is not ideal.
So what would your concern level be?
On a scale of 10, I'm gonna say I'm a 6 right now.
I think that's a good, a little above tepid, right? 5 would be like tepid.
Yeah. So just
I think
a little bit of it.
I think I'm there too. And because again, and I don't think he'll miss games. I just think his mentality, what we've seen in history, his toughness. Obviously, right now the Rams are just saying like, "Hey, we're just like, there's no point you being out there right now and like making things take longer to recover." So that's why I'm not like a full DEFCON. Like, okay, we're at like a 9 here. Like, oh man, this guy might miss half the season. But what is his recovery timeline and what is his actual execution and effectiveness going to look like? Because tough guys play 3 years all the time, but that doesn't mean they're the same player. Like, he might not be the same player. He might be out there, but how good is he going to be?
Stafford last year was hurt and he didn't play well down the stretch. Now I think they upped the painkiller dosage for the playoffs, maybe a couple milliliters or something, however that's measured, and he gritted it out and he turned it on in the playoffs. But if there's a bunch of abuse, if this offensive line isn't getting back to like a good spot, this is a problem. And Alaric Jackson, we don't know if he's playing week 1. So that's a big question, especially heading into playing against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson with Houston. That's could be a rough game.
Yeah, let's kind of end with that, unless you have anything else to add, but let's end with that. So obviously the key to Stafford's health and all this is going to be the offensive line. Like, they're going to have to keep him from getting hit. He can't be a quarterback taking shots and whatever, regardless of his age, just because of what's obviously going on. I think, obviously Rob Havenstein, we feel good about. Kevin Dotson, as long as he's healthy, which seemingly he will be, we're good. At center, I think Coleman Shelton's looked good this camp. I don't think he's like an elite center, but I think he's looked good, and I think the team feels real confident. Obviously, we know Steve Avila. I cannot see a world, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I can't see a world where Alaric Jackson starts week 1. I just can't see it, regardless of if he's back. I mean, that is such a physical position that if you have not taken a physical rep since last season, you can't just your first physical rep cannot be in a game situation. Like, they're going to have to work him back into it. Once he gets cleared, in my opinion, he's got to work back into it. You don't just go from not even playing patty cake. Like, he's just doing individual drills with no actual physicality. Like, you can't just go from that to, as you mentioned, going up against Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. So to me, DJ Humphries is the starting left tackle as of now. Like, do you feel good about Humphries protecting Matthew Stafford's blind side, where one hit is going to be straight to that back? How do you feel about that proposition?
DJ Humphries has played a lot of football in this league at a high level. Do I sound like McVay all of a sudden? Am I trying to talk myself into this a little bit? He was hurt and he couldn't get a job with the Chiefs, whose offensive line cost them a Super Bowl. They were playing a guard at tackle. And the guard, the tackle they drafted moved to guard, and even within all that switching things up, he wasn't able to earn a job there. Is he more healthy now? Is he, more prepared? He's taking a lot of reps. He's playing a lot of football in practice. So yeah, I mean, the compounding levels is what sends me from a 6 to a 7. Once you start thinking about it like that. But in some good news and some good injury news, a lot of people returned. Kobe Turner was back to practice. Nate Landman returned. Cam Curl, Puka Nacua, and Akella Witherspoon. No updates on Kevin Dotson, who had a chest contusion at the Cowboys joint practice, and then also no updates on Terrence Ferguson either. I haven't seen anything about those guys either. So a couple more injuries to watch.
So we will keep everyone updated on that. Obviously, well, not obviously, but so everyone knows, Skinny T will be at joint practice down in Carson, Dignity Health. It's a fun facility to get to. So you get to be down there and check out Rams, Saints. I'm sure there'll be plenty of storylines. Obviously, Stafford will be the talk of the town. So make sure to keep it right here on the Rams LAFB YouTube channel and LAFBnetwork.com audio platforms. Just search Rams Skinny. We'll have all the updates for you straight from practice. We'll see if Skinny can join us from the field or if we'll wait till he's back in the comfortable confines of Highland Park, and then we'll jump back on and give you all the updates on that. So it's a nice morning practice. So we'll have something up in the afternoon of Thursday. So mark your calendars, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you get notified when it's up. And we'll have that. So just also, so everyone knows, Skinny, I'll give that little schedule rundown for the plan for the season. So we are planning, hopefully all you guys get involved for all the shows, but we're going to do basically a Tuesday. The plan is to do a Tuesday kind of show, a Wednesday call-in show live. We're going to try to test an afternoon call-in show. So hopefully when you guys are, whether you're, maybe not when you're driving, but, available to call, we'll be live, kind of picking a time, either 3 or 4 p.m., talking all things Rams, obviously live. Thursday, we'll do a preview show, and then we will have a Sunday post game or whenever the Rams play, but typically a Sunday live post game show after hopefully a Rams victory. So 4 scheduled shows throughout the week, plus little stuff here and there, plus all of our Rams editorial content over at LAFBnetwork.com. So make sure everyone hit that subscribe, tune in. It should be an awesome season. It's going to be our best one yet doing the show, Skinny, so I cannot wait to do it. But we'll talk to everyone again Thursday after joint practice. Hopefully some good news on Stafford. Maybe he surprised us as he just shows up and practices and balls out. And everyone, we can put all these concerns behind us, but we shall see. But Skinny, thank you as always. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk to everyone here on Thursday.